you're not broken. You just lost your structure. When you were in, you didn't even have to think about structure and discipline because that system was already handled for you. Wake up time, PT, chow, tasks, the mission, all of that was decided for you. But now that you're out and nobody's handing you that anymore, nobody's keeping you accountable, you've got all this freedom in zero direction, and it's killing your momentum in life. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I rebuilt my structure from scratch after the Marines and how you can build a mission-aligned routine that actually moves your life forward in the civilian sector without relying on willpower that will only burn you out in a few weeks. So the first step I had to take was a time audit. So I had to be very brutal and honest about where my time was being spent, whether it be for a 9 to 5 or for my business or for my health or for entertainment or anything that was pulling me away from the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So I had to track where just about every hour I was spending on certain things. So I did this for 1 week and had to be as brutally honest as possible about where I was spending my time and reflecting on what I could improve on, what I could replace in terms of habits, what things I needed to ultimately get rid of and remove from my life so that I could focus more on what mattered. So the brutal honesty of knowing how much time you're going to be spending throughout your life is very important because we only have a finite amount of time. It's always a depleting resource that we'll never get back. So how we spend our time truly matters more than the money we'll make, more than all the times you spend on video games and doom scrolling and things like that. If you're wasting your time on that, then you're never going to get that time back. And we need to understand like how can we truly spend our time wisely from this point forward. So when I was doing this, I discovered a lot of my time was spent distracted on video games and scrolling on Instagram or binge watching YouTube, things like that. So when I was able to free up a lot of that time and replace those things with things that ultimately mattered for me, then I would be able to move in the right direction. So you can't really fix what you can't see, what you can't when you're not aware of, because if you're sitting around doom scrolling on your phone, you probably don't realize how much time you're actually wasting on that. So this is actually one of the things I helped one of my clients with to reflect on how much time she could actually save as a busy nurse and single mother of 3 kids to be able to grow her own business while working those 2 jobs and not even sacrificing time from her with her kids. She wanted to focus a lot of that time spending that time with her kids. And if you want to be able to have this time audit worksheet to be able to understand how much time you can truly save for your life, it's absolutely free in my community, Mental Momentum, helping other veterans and first responders identify their mission and have time to execute on it. Click the link in the description below if you want to check that out. Step 2 is eliminating friction. There's friction involved when it comes to work, when it comes to exercise or health, when it comes to living in a spiritual life. If we're wanting to dive into the Bible more and have a closer relationship with God. So I needed to remove a lot of the things that were putting friction and obstacles from those things to be able to, that were hindering me from being able to do those things. So when it came to the video games and the doom scrolling, I needed to understand that I needed to put some friction into the video games. These were a big distraction in my life. I was basically addicted to them to the point where nothing else mattered. I let that become an idol in my life. I basically let it be my God, be something that I was focused all of my attention, time, and energy on, and nothing turned out well for it. So I had to really add friction to the video games, to the scrolling, to all of that. So maybe there's some distractions that we talked about when you conduct this time audit that you need to add some friction and put some obstacles in place away from the things that are going to distract you or the things that are going to move the needle in your life, whether that be for health or for relationships or for your business or your work or your mental health or your spiritual walk, things like that. So We need to create an environment that enables us to move forward in our mission in life. Step 3 is to build a mission aligned schedule. So we need to understand how much time we're spending on things and creating non-negotiable time blocks tied to our actual mission, not just this busy work that so many people are involved in, this fake productivity that like how many hours you can work in a given day determines your level of success. And that seems to be what society wants to force down on us. Like the more hours you work, the more successful you'll be. But on the contrary, if you're always doing that and you're always working and not making as much progress as you like to be, you're going to burn yourself out. Your mental health is going to be screwed up. You're not going to be as effective for your work and for other things, for your health and for your spouse or your relationships or your family. You're not going to be effective if you don't have a schedule in place where you can time block certain things that ultimately matter for you. So we need to time block every facet of our life. We need to time block our health. What time are we going to go to the gym? What time are we going to go for a run? For me, it's for the past few weeks, it's been 7:30 a.m. I worked out with my brother for the past few weeks. 7:30 a.m. works well for the both of us, so we can also hold each other accountable for exercise, and that works for his schedule. It works for mine. So that's going to be different for you. Maybe you need to wake up a little bit earlier to be able to work out. Maybe 0500 or 0600, whatever the case for you. Maybe it's better for you to do it later in the evening if you feel like you could have the energy to do so. That's completely dependent on you. Then you need to have some time blocks to be able to work on the business. If you're focused on business, what are the things you need to do to grow the business? What are the problems that you need to solve for that time block? And what priorities you need to focus on for that certain time? For me, it's more important to focus on marketing and promoting myself before I do anything else, before any product development, before any product improvement, because I can't improve on the product if I don't market myself towards people and let people know about myself and about my product. So I need to prioritize that first. And then once that's taken care of, then I could focus on product development once I have, once I be able to market myself, once I put myself in front of more people for my audience, things like that. So everything could be different for you, but it needs to be tailored to your specific needs and schedule it. Put it on your calendar. This is the most important part. Use your calendar wisely. You can use your Google Calendar. You could use a physical calendar. It doesn't matter, but put it on your schedule. Put it on your calendar. Time block certain things so that you can focus on one thing at a time and not have to burn yourself out with task switching from thing to thing. And this is going to be where the priority comes in. You need to understand how to prioritize. You need to understand like what is the most important thing for you to take care of, and just eat the frog. Execute on the thing that is going to move the needle most in your life. Take care of that first in your life. And then step 4 is the accountability. Like I said, I talked about accountability with my brother when we go to the gym, and this applies for any facet of life, whether for your health, your relationships, your business, your spiritual walk, anything like that, personal and professional. So in the Marines, you had a chain of command, you had a platoon, you had a squad, and then you had a fire team, most likely. I had a fire team, I had a squad and a platoon, and we had to use each other to hold each other accountable for jobs, for roles. So as a motor transport operator, and I needed to make sure to get PMCS done, preventative maintenance checks and services done throughout the day, and I had to make sure that all the vehicles were checked, that everyone got their licenses when we had to roll out for convoys. We had to be accountable for each other on that to make sure the mission was taken care of, that each task was done according to what needed to be done throughout the day, throughout each time. So we need accountability. We need people to surround ourselves with to hold us accountable for the things that ultimately matter. So, as a civilian, if you're trying to go about this life by yourself, if you're isolating yourself from friends, from family, from maybe other buddies from the Marines that also are veterans like you, if you're isolating for yourself from that, don't expect to be able to live out the life that you truly want and have a good proper structure, because we need accountability. We need people that will actually push us in the right direction. So investing into communities, into coaching, into or even just having someone to a battle buddy, right? Have a battle buddy who checks in with you. Remember the buddy system in the military is there for a purpose, right? Even though it seemed annoying at the time, I didn't like being able to go to the porta john with someone with a battle buddy, right? It's just like 15 15 feet away, right? But that's still important because it keeps us accountable. We don't think about like how important it really is. So get some accountability in. Have a partner, have a battle buddy, have someone who's going to hold you to a certain standard. Because if you've lost that a lot yourself, you might need to raise your own standards with someone else. And that's a big aspect. So being able to implement a lot of these systems in my life what kept me from depressed and anxious and lost in life to having a daily structure, a checklist, and a newfound purpose in my life. Now I'm physically and mentally healthier even when I was in the Marines. Even when I was in the Marines, like in the civilian world, I feel a whole lot better about myself. I'm physically stronger, I'm mentally sharper, everything. So a lot can still change when in the civilian world. Not all is lost. And I do currently have 5 spots open to work with me one on one to rebuild your structure and find your next mission. So if you're a veteran or even a first responder watching this, if you're curious to link, there's a link to apply in the description. First come, first serve. I'd love to be able to see how I can help you. So thanks for watching. Hopefully any of this info has helped you out. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Drop a comment below if you also if you have anything to add, any questions you want to ask, and I'll be sure to answer them as quickly as I can. So have a good one. Peace out. Lord bless you. Semper Fi.